I remember the evening because the rain outside the hotel windows made the city look like a painting I had once studied in my English literature class. My name is Emily. I was 25, and I spent most of my days buried in books, dreaming that one day I would stand in front of a classroom and inspire young minds. Money was always a quiet worry in the background, so I sometimes worked as a waitress at the old, elegant hotel near the river. That night, the hotel was glowing with golden lights, and important geese arrived wearing expensive watches, perfect smiles, and stories I could only imagine. As I carried trays of champagne through the room, I felt like a small, invisible character in someone else's grand novel. I tried to move carefully between the guests, reminding myself that confidence was something I could learn just like any other skill. The sound of laughter, music, and crystal glasses filled the ballroom, and for a moment I forgot that I was only there to work. I noticed how everyone seemed to belong except me, yet a strange feeling told me that something unusual was about to happen. Perhaps it was just my imagination, the same imagination that made me see romance in old books and meaning in simple moments. Then my foot caught the edge of a chair and the entire world seemed to slow down. The tray tilted in my hands, and before I could stop it, champagne spilled across the suit of a man standing beside me. The glass shattered, the room went silent, and then a few people laughed as if my mistake was the evening's entertainment. The man looked down at his ruined jacket and then at me with a cold expression that made my cheeks burn. He told me he would make sure I paid for everything and even threatened to sue me. I wanted to disappear, to become a sentence in a book that nobody would ever read. I hurried into the kitchen, holding back tears until the heavy doors closed behind me. Then I finally let myself cry, feeling foolish and small, wondering if I would ever escape the life where one mistake could destroy everything. I thought about my future students and the teacher I wanted to become, and I wondered if people like me were allowed to dream that big. The kitchen lights were too bright, and I wished for the darkness of my bedroom where nobody could see me. I did not notice the door opening behind me. A man stepped inside, and at first I assumed he had come to complain as well. But instead of anger, his voice was calm when he asked if I was all right. He was about 30, with kind eyes and a quiet confidence that made the chaos around me feel suddenly far away. He told me that the angry guest was a client of his company and that he would handle the situation. For the first time that night, I felt like someone had seen me instead of just my mistake. I wiped my tears and tried to laugh, embarrassed that a stranger had found me hiding in a kitchen. He smiled and asked if I was always so impulsive, and for a second I looked at him in surprise before we both started laughing. The joke was simple, but somehow it broke the wall between us. We talked about books, work, dreams, and the strange paths life sometimes takes without asking permission. It felt impossible that only minutes had passed because being with him felt strangely familiar. I told him about studying English literature and my hope of becoming a teacher someday. He listened carefully, not in the polite way people sometimes listen, but as if my words genuinely mattered. I noticed small things about him, the way he smiled before speaking, and the way he never interrupted me. Somewhere between our conversation and the quiet noise of the kitchen, I forgot about the expensive guests outside. It felt like we had stepped into a hidden corner of the world where time had decided to be gentle. Eventually, he glanced toward the door and told me he needed to return to the event. A strange sadness appeared inside me because I realized I had only known him for a short while, yet I already did not want the moment to end. I nodded and looked down, pretending I was not hoping for something more. He walked toward the door, and I listened to his footsteps as if they were the final lines of a story. Then he stopped. He turned around, and his expression was warm, almost like he had been having the same thoughts as me. He asked if I would like to join him for a meal at the hotel restaurant sometime, not as an employee, but as his guest. For a second, I forgot how to respond, because I had expected the evening to end with shame, not with an invitation. I smiled and gave him a shy nod, feeling a tiny spark of hope light up inside me. The moment was simple, but it felt like the universe had quietly rewritten the ending. I finished my shift that night, but everything felt different as I walked home through the wet streets. I still had my worries, my studies, and my ordinary life waiting for me the next morning. But now I carried a memory that felt almost magical, like finding a pressed flower inside a book I thought I knew by heart. I did not know what would happen between us, and perhaps that was part of the beauty of it. Sometimes a single evening is enough to remind you that even the smallest characters can become the heroes of their own stories.